DBSCG things.
What is up, Yuhp gang? It's your boy Taxon and welcome back to Yuhp DBSCG Things. Today I got another exciting video for you guys. This is going to be an undefeated from our locals this week, Raditz. But before we get into the deck, guys, I do want to say if you want any custom mats and or sleeves, absolutely check out Pro Mats, guys. They do the best custom work around. I'll leave a link in the description below for you guys to go check them out. And also, guys, I do want to say if you like this deck profile or my content in general, absolutely hit all those buttons down there. The subscription button, the like, and the notification. And with that being said, guys, let's turn this camera around and check out the deck. Alrighty, you guys, so here we are with the deck. Now let's go over it. If you guys don't know what this leader does, he has an auto whenever he attacks. Your opponent has to choose a card in their hand and send it to their warp, which is really, really good. Honestly, putting a card from your hand to the warp instead of the drop area in a hand destruction deck is just a really cool, unique option. It helps work around some of those cards like Deborah and Draw Apes and things like that. He also has an activate main that works slightly like South Surge, but it has a limited search effect. So instead of just grabbing whatever you want off the top 5, you're looking for a Raditz, Vegeta, and or Nappa. That's a red or green card. And then if you add a card, you have to discard a card in hand, which is nice because a lot of the cards that do the things that you want to do in this deck, you're going to be doing from the drop area. So being able to find things like your super combos and searchers and stuff like that, and then discarding other things is really nice. His awakening ability is at having a 3-cost Unison in play like Soul Striker, or if your life's at 4 or less. What happens, you get to stand 1 energy and draw a card and flip them over. On the back side, obviously still having a warp a card on attack effect, but he has an additional, if you have 4 more cards after the initial warp, so technically it's if there's 3 in the warp, you swing, they warp 1, and then he'll gain crit because there will be 4 after you warp 1. So he does have that built-in crit ability, which is really, really nice in a hand destruction deck, being able to swing for crit, making them warp a card from hand and pressure that damage. That's not going to go to their hand anyways, really, really good. An auto, place 4 non-black cards from your opponent's warp to the bottom of their owner's deck at the start of your main phase, and this card will gain triple attack. So right after you charge your energy, you count out their 4 cards from their warp, send them to the bottom of the owner's deck, and then he'll gain triple attack. Cool thing is, if there's at least 7 cards in the warp, you'll be able to move 4, give them triple attack, and then on swing, you'll put the 4th card into the warp and give them critical again. So very, very cool. That's the leader for you guys. Now let's get into the deck. Obviously, like I said, on the front side, you do awaken with a 3-cost Unison in play, so we do run a few of those. We got 3 copies of the new Raditz, SS3 Nappa that came out with him. You're only really going to use the plus ability on this card. The -2 is also kind of good, but I don't run the SCR for the -3, so I never use that. The +1 being your opponent chooses a card in their hand and sends it to the warp, always being a great thing to start your turn off with. Plus card, you make your opponent send a card to the warp, and you swing with your leader. They have this warp another card. Once he's on field, your opponent always warping 2 cards from their hand a turn. Really, really good. His -2 being choose up to 2 of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost greater than or equal to their current energy and KO them. So if your opponent's just rushing out big bosses or something like that, or just a bunch of cards that you just don't want to deal with, you can just use this card. -2 and pop it. Next Unison that's going to awaken our leader that we run. 2 King Vegeta. Reason we run this is for barrier removal. Also, its counterattack spirit boost effect is kind of cool. I haven't used it yet, but I do think it's kind of cool if someone's devoting their turns into killing your Unison. Once it's on its last marker, you can just spirit boost 1. Pay 2 if you have an ape in field, or 3 if you don't. Negate the attack and play a whole new Unison with 3 markers on it. I think that's pretty cool. +1 being really good. You get to choose a card from your opponent's hand or pop a barrier card from their field. That's really, really solid. Honestly, got me one of my games in the finals. I believe I was versing Red Blue Cooler. Shout out to that player. He's a really, really good player. He had a barrier blocker card on field, and it's the Android Spice that Trey Faircloth was trying to put on. Basically put that out hoping that he could mill me as I swing with a card, and I just said, play this, kill it first, and then I just proceeded to warp and swing it his last few life. Good card. The -X also being a very, very good card, skill. You can just put him out for as many markers as you want, minus the markers right off him, and kill 1 card for every marker that you removed. So that's really good. That's the Unison package that we're running. Right behind the Unison, we got 4 Frieza Charismatic Villain. Not much to say about this. This could probably become a 3 of because you're not really loading a Unison until turn 3. So this could definitely be a 3 of. I can see that. I like to keep it at 4 just because I do run Zamasus in this deck. So having that target for Zamasu is really, really good. Also, there's ways to get Zamasu on field without Frieza. So maybe going to 3 would be the right move. But I do like Frieza. I like to have that at 4. Just like I said, I run Zamasu, so 2 Zamasus to follow up Frieza. You guys know what this does. Pay 1, pop up the 5 cost, and a certain power of green battle cards in your field when he comes out, and, you know, whenever he attacks, your opponent discards. Here's our negate lineup. We got 3 Dormants. I was running this at 4, but being a best of 1 local, I did cut 1 out so that I could main some Deborahs this week, because last week we did have another Raditz player, and this week we did have a self-surge player, so honestly I was kind of happy that I had the Deborahs in the main and my best of 1 setup. So yeah, I cut this from 4 to 3 for that reason, but if you guys don't know what Dorman does, it doesn't negate the attack, but it is a counter attack. You can choose any number of your opponent's cards that add up to 2 or less, kill them, and then if you pitch a card from your hand, your opponent can only attack once more for the turn. 2 Homicidal Clones. This is going to be... I like this card a lot. This is one of the cards that's going to be putting us into our self-awakening range most of the time, because we don't run any other self-awakeners other than this. So once you're at 5, you just pop this out. A lot of the times you can use it to save your Unison, save something. You have a blocker on field, and if you don't get the chance to use a blocker, it's always a 5k combo, and 5k combo, or just the, you know, you're never gonna swing with that. But yeah, it's a 5k combo. 2 Shocking Death Ball, really good. It's really good against red, honestly, because a lot of red decks are trying to run the U7 stuff, so like they're always playing the 1-drop Gohan, and like I like to use this card just to make them replay it. So yep, you negate the attack and KO to cost more. So like I said, on the front side of the leader here, you do get to look at the top 5 and find a Vegeta, Nappa, or Raditz card, and we're gonna go over the searchable targets there. So we got, for the super combo Vegeta, if you guys don't know what this Vegeta does, you can tap 1 and play him, which is probably why I have him in the deck, and honestly because he's searchable on the leader. You can tap 1, play him, and when he comes into play, your opponent chooses a card in their hand and discards it. It always feels good to do this because your opponent will like either waste a card to counter it, or you're going to make them discard. So really good card. A lot of people waste resources trying to kill it too, because no one wants you to be able to use your super combo. When I was versing Cooler, I didn't have much to do one turn, and I had 3 of these in hand, and I honestly just paid 1 and I just paid 1 each time and just played 3 of them. and then honestly, I tried to combo them off right away. Like the moment I was into a combo step, I just comboed off from the moment I could. I was above 4 too, so I couldn't draw. I just comboed it immediately, so I couldn't get milled. 4 Raditz. This, honestly, if you're not versing black, is the draw power of the deck. Like I said, also searchable off leader. This is going to be the searchable package. You're never going to use the second effect, but the first effect is pretty clutch. When you play him, if your leader cards are Raditz, you get to draw 1 card for every 2 non-black cards in your opponent's warp. So like I was saying, I was versing Cooler in the finals. Cool thing about the Cooler is I was versing the tricolor version, so he did have a bunch of yellow apes in there. So as the game went on, he was trying to keep up with my hand destruction using apes. So he did fill his warp up faster than I honestly could. So by like turn 5 or 6, he had like 12, 13 cards in his warp, excluding maybe 1 or 2 black cards. And I honestly just tapped 1, played this, and drew 5. He thought I was crazy because I was versing a mill deck, but I knew that I had the upper hand because he had like no cards in hand, and he was wasting all of his energy every turn to use draw apes to try to get his hand back. So I knew I was going to be safe just drawing because he wasn't milling me. I think he'd milled me a total of maybe 5 cards out of my deck that turn game in general. So I felt safe playing this, but this card's just amazing. Just basically being the hand power of the deck. 4 of the new Vegeta SR. This card is unique. It does gain blocker if you have a field card in play, which is cool. And it has an auto on play. You get to choose one. You can either top 5 search for a 3 cost or less green saiyan and add it to your hand. So basically, this guy's going to search himself or any of these other cards. Also, the better part about him is that he gets to go through your deck and grab Powerball. And it adds it to your hand, but Powerball does say you can free cast it if you have a green saiyan leader. So this goes through the deck and just basically free cast that. If this card dies and there's an energy open, you can pay 1 for this card's effect, go through your deck and play a 4 cost, which is going to make your opponent discard on attack, being this card. 4 of the grade 8 Vegeta Embodied Might. Blocker limit 1. Basically the same skill as Vegeta's Powerball, but he comes out inactive off his own effect. It's a limit 1, so you can only use 1, but the Vegeta Powerball is not. So if the Vegeta blocker dies and you have 2 energy up and one of these in hand, you can use Vegeta's Powerball from 1 to play 1 from deck, and then you use his skill to play from hand. The card has a once per turn auto. When you attack with the card, you get to choose a card, or your opponent chooses a card in their hand and discards it. Really good skill, honestly. Vegeta's Powerball, being able to stand up one of your grade 8s at the end of the turn anyways, so that's really good. If you have one of these grade 8 Vegetas, it's going to block you an attack and discard a card from your opponent's hand every single turn, so that's really good. It's also a 20k, so it does provide some pressure. Also, is good at sticking on the board if they don't have just straight up removal. So that's decent. He also has an Activate main, which comes up occasionally, but most of the time he's going to be coming out for the 1 energy autos. It's a 2 energy effect Activate main. If a player has a field card, extra card in their battle area, you can play this guy from your hand. So with that being said, that's our searchable targets, other than the Vegeta's Powerball. These 4 and this 4, all off that. And then what we're going to be pitching, if we find these, we're going to be pitching Riberan. You guys know what this does. If your leader card's green, you tap 2, you move from your drop to your warp, and your opponent chooses 2 cards in their hand and discards them. Honestly, this card, it's just crazy good. Tap 2, make your opponent discard 2, being basically uninteractable. I feel like that's just crazy. Another great pitch target, Bardock the Eliminator. I originally was testing the top tap 2, draw 2, 8. I did not like how it collided so much with my Riberan turn, so I did add Bardock the Eliminator as a 4 of instead. Also, if you guys want to know, I do run 2 of the normal instincts as well. So I do like having this at 4 instead of the big ape, only because on turn 1 I don't have much to do besides either play a super combo, play this Vegeta, or play this Bardock the Eliminator. So most of the time I'm using my top 5 search to find one of these cards, and then I'm just going to use Bardock the Eliminator turn 1. And then turn 2, I'll find another card, pitch Riberan, and make you do that. Turn 3 being the Unison play. And then obviously from there on out, I can do whatever I want. So I'm not really even activating this card till turn 4. Even in my aggro matchups, I'm never going to use this early. So I just felt like this was great because I can do it turn 1, and also it's always a 1 energy investment. It's never a 2 energy investment, which is good for green because you don't have the options like blue just to keep untapping your energy. So I just felt like it was very viable having a good turn 1 play, a good turn 2 play that goes right to your turn 3 awakening play. So right after that, another great turn 4 play, or turn 3 if you just don't have your Unison. We got 2 of the Rosie, Blast Manipulator. You guys know what she does. She does have Deflect, so versing blue, she's pretty good. She has an auto on play if your leader's a green or a heroine card. When you play it, your opponent chooses 2 cards in their hand, discards them, and then it gains triple attack. So this card being a great way to get rid of 15k Unisons, a great way to keep poking at leaders for game. 2 cards from hand and then just 15k on every single attack is crazy, especially being that your leader also can be a triple attack. These 2 cards combined can basically win games. So I really like that combo. The card's really good here. I run 1 of the Toa Dark Temptation. I did have this card at 2, but like I said, I cut a Dormant and actually 1 of these to run 2 copies of the Bora, just because our locals was showing a bit of hand destruction in the showings, so I was kind of worried about getting out hand destruction, so I did actually main some Boras. I did not run into Cell nor the Raditz player from last week, so I honestly did not need that card. I never used it, but it's a great pitch target for your leader if you don't have nothing else to pitch. It's not going to have its effect off if you pitch it off your leader effect, but it's a good way to get it out of hand. And then my SER of choice is the Boo counter. This could probably be just about like anything. Kai, Pan, Kabito Boo. I personally like this card a lot. It's cool in the hand destruction in this deck because most of the time your opponent's not going to have much of a hand, and if they end up having a hand, they're saving onto their good stuff, so they're probably holding like Flood Negates or something so that you can't go for game and their hand gets low. So that's where this card comes in clutch. You get their hand super low, your turn starts, you give your leader a triple attack, and he obviously has crit. You use your Unison's plus effect. They have to warp a card from hand, and then you just swing with your leader. They counter, drop this. Hopefully that was enough cards from their hand. They also have to warp off it, so that's quite an investment. And then you just swing for the big 40k double strike. Cool thing about that is it's 40k, so like a lot of the times in a hand destruction matchup, they're just not going to have the hand power to outcombo that. And if they don't have a raw negate, they're just going to eat that to the face. Also, cool thing about Toa, I forgot to mention, she does +5 your leader, so if you play this out on your kill turn, your leader will be a 20k crit triple attack. So it is pretty clutch. And with that being said, guys, this is the deck profile. Let me know what you guys think. I've been tinkering with Raditz. I do like it a lot. We do have a couple, another player at our locals that has been tinkering with it as well. So shout out to him. He actually inspired me to finish building my version. So shout out to him. I hope that he continues to find the spice for his. Yeah, let me know what you guys think about the deck. I liked playing it a lot. It was a good time. It's basically Cell Surge without being as degenerate as Cell Surge. Terrible against black guys. Luckily for me, I didn't verse black. Here, I'll tell you my matchups real quick. So round 1, I versed Broly Surge. This Broly Surge deck does have the U7 package, so it was had the option to basically draw a lot, but being, like I said, I do run Shocking and Dormant. Card's really good against red because you just pop that 1-drop Gohan and they can't keep drawing cards off it, so that's really cool there. So, and the cool thing is in that matchup is Broly Surge has to have card in. I just murdered that. Broly Surge has to have cards in hand in order to awaken. And if I'm just doing enough hand destruction and they can't find a green piece or they can't find a red piece, they're never going to be awakened. So that's how that matchup went basically. He basically struggled to awaken until he actually ended up with the cards to awaken. He awakened. He tried to go in. He couldn't get very much from me. And then on the clapback, I ended up getting it. The next round, man, what did I verse? I know it was Cooler in the finals. Oh yeah, round 2, I versed Green Gotenks. Actually, that was probably one of the closest matchups of the day. Gotenks, the Gotenks player was honestly one of my teammates, so he was teched for hand destruction. I did tell him that there was going to be hand destruction at our local, so you maybe should main board some hate because we do play best of 1. So he definitely had a couple of Deborahs in his deck. He also had a couple of the 1-drop green cards that just draw a card when they come into play from the drop area. So I did have some trouble there. I don't main board any hate for the hate against hand destruction because we do play in best of 1. I probably should now that I have been putting my own teammates on using the hate in best of 1. So that was my game 2, and then game 3, like I said, was Cooler. Shout out that player. He was a very, very good player. Obviously, having a lot of apes and stuff in his main board. Eventually, getting in. I think it was like turn 7 or something. There were so many cards in his warp because he just kept using draw apes every turn that I was able to use the triple attack effect on my leader 3 times that game. Unfortunately, he did like Oceanize me and do other things like that to stop my turn. Eventually I was able to get it. Yeah, that's about it, guys. Let me know what you guys think. I definitely want to know what you guys think. I want to know what ratios you guys think, any spicy options that you guys think would be cool in this deck. I also thought about the 3-drop Raditz Unison just to give your leader crit or anything else crit. Like, you can give this card crit and make them discard a card. If you're earning the Raditz Unison, it's plus a card, you discard a card, and then your opponent chooses a card in their hand and discards as well. Then you get to choose one of your cards and give it crit. So that's a cool 3-cost option, but just not as good as this new Vegeta, also just not as good as the warp a card from hand. So with that being said, guys, this is the profile. If you liked it, definitely hit a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, hit a notification bell. And with that being said, guys, we will see you next week.